All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Everything College Football Podcast. Today we're doing my preview and prediction for the Texas Bowl between Baylor and LSU going down New Year's Eve in NRG Stadium in Houston. Baylor 3.5-point favorites. 59.5 is the total, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. Looking at the Baylor offense to get things going, this has been a really good unit this year, over almost 35 points per game, 434 yards per contest as well. I mean, this is a team that's been producing at a pretty high rate. They've really done it with balance, and they've gotten better as the season has went on. Early on in the season, you wondered what they would do at quarterback, and they had issues against Utah. They only put up 12 points in that one. After that, though, it really wasn't much of an issue once they finally settled on the full-time starter in Sawyer Robertson. And this guy's been really good. This is a guy who from Lubbock, Texas, who's been really solid this year. 30 touchdowns combined, 7 interceptions, 238 yards per game through the air, and he's been a respectable runner as well, completing about 63%. This is a team, though, that has some really talented pass catchers, and that's been pretty underrated. Monterey Baldwin, this is a guy who's a big-time playmaker for them. Kind of lost spot in the rotation, but here at the end of the year, he's really kicked back into high gear. He's coming off a 119-yard performance against Kansas with 2 TDs in that one as well. I mean, this is a big-time playmaker, though. Lots of speed here. Ashton Hawkins has been good, 512 yards, and the leader is Josh Cameron. Has a team high in receptions with 44, along with yards at 643, and then 9 touchdowns. So they have a nice 3-man combo here, and then Hal Presley, I believe, will also be getting involved from time to time. So this is a respectable receiving group. Nice quarterback going up against a defense that's really struggled this year. Against the pass, they haven't been awful. Only 9 touchdowns. Wow, that's pretty good. Only snagged 5 picks, though. That's horrible. 206 yards per game. Also a pretty impressive mark. This team has a lot of opt-outs, injuries, and whatnot, but they should be good to go in the secondary with Zay Alexander. He's their best corner. He's going to be playing. You want to monitor what Major Burns will be doing at safety. I think he'll be getting to go in this game. But Zay Alexander is going to be their top corner. Other than that, it's not great for them in the secondary in terms of coverage guys. Jordan Gilbert's really struggled. Ashton Stamps has also been a bit of an issue. And I think Sage Ryan, he's transferring out. So it's going to be, he's transferred out to Ole Miss. So it's going to be somewhat of the same secondary. But I don't think they're going to have a great performance in this one. It's a pretty good passing attack they're facing. And then you look at a rushing attack led by a breakout star in Bryson Washington, 1,004 yards, 12 touchdowns on 170 attempts. He really got going over the last month, over the last 4 games of the season. Really the last 6, that's when he started getting full-time reps in this road as the number 1 back. He's been highly productive, very efficient. Dawson Pendergrass, number 2, 608 and 4 touchdowns. This is a team putting up 188 yards per game on the ground against that LSU team that gives up about almost 150 yards per game on the ground. They've allowed 24 touchdowns. They've absolutely been brutalized this year, especially against the quarterback run. I figured against Alabama, that's why they would lose that game. And they got torched, 311 and 6 touchdowns total rushing in that game. And Robertson certainly isn't going to bring the same skill set to the table, but the threat of his legs is certainly going to be major. You're really going to need guys like Whit Weeks to step up like he has been all year long. Probably going to have to play even better if Greg Penn likely out for this contest. Braden Swinson is playing. That's great. 13 tackles for loss, 8.5 TFLs for him. You have a guy and guy on the other side, and Savion Jones, 2 defensive ends. They're both going to be playing. That's big news for them, because those have been highly productive edge rushers throughout the season for LSU. So there's a couple of talented guys on this defense. Other than that, though, it's kind of up in the air because this defense has really struggled, and it's really just, the one corner I alluded to in Alexander, Whit Weeks at linebacker, and these 2 edge rushers. Other than that, the rest of the defense is, pretty lackluster, and I think this is an opportunity probably for Baylor to really take advantage of and continue to strike with balance like they have all year long. As long as they protect the ball, and that's something LSU has not been able to do, is force turnovers. Again, only 5 interceptions, one of the worst marks in the country. So I like the matchup opportunity for Baylor in this matchup. Looking at the other side of things, LSU's offense on the Baylor defense. Some more major opt-outs here for them. They're going to be down their top 2 offensive tackles, Will Campbell and Emory Jones not playing, and then 2 of their top pass catchers is Mason Taylor and Kyron Lacey opting out. So it looks like Aaron Anderson's going to get a heavy dose of the targets. Expect a monster game from him, more than likely. 784 and 4 touchdowns on top of 53 receptions. And then C.J. Daniels, he's transferring out. So they're going to be down 3 of their top 4 pass catchers. Xavier Thomas, he's really going to have to step up. Kyle Parker, guys like him and Chris Hilton really haven't played much this year due to injury. I think Parker, he's not going to be getting the go either. And then Hilton, he's a guy who has played in the back half of the season, so He had 2 touchdowns against Oklahoma. So it's really just going to be the Anderson, Thomas, and Hilton show at receiver, and I think it's just fine for Garrett Nussmeier. This guy has had a good year. I mean, I didn't expect him to throw the ball 41 times, but they've really lacked a run game, so he's really had to be much more than the gunslinger I thought he would be. I knew he'd be a big-time pocket passer this year. 3,800 yards, 26 touchdowns. He's went 3 games without an interception. Does have 11 on the year. He has 4 games of numerous interceptions. So this is a guy who can sometimes get himself in trouble. But they haven't really did him any favors with the responsibility he's been forced into this year. I know Caden Durham at running back has really been a pleasant surprise, and at times he's just single-handedly willed this team on offense. He's the only guy that can really run the ball for him. I think he's been a pretty efficient runner, solid pass catcher as well. So this is a very impressive player. 116 yards per game on the ground, though, is just not that good of a rushing attack. Josh Williams, he's a bit of a, more of a power back. He'll get some goal line work, I think. So they got players who are capable, but with this offensive line really being in flux of only 2 of the normal starters, being in line to play because Garrett Dellinger was not practicing with the team before bowl prep. So it looks like it's going to be Miles Frazier and DJ Chester as the only normal starters, and Frazier looks like he's going to kick out the tackle. So it's not great for LSU's offense. I think moving forward, they're going to be just fine. They're doing great portal work, but for this game, it's probably not going to be the prettiest of performances. Going up against a Baylor defense that's been a little lackluster, 25 points per game allowed, giving up 382 yards per contest. They haven't been great. They haven't been horrid. Keaton Thomas, Matt Jones, 2 linebackers in the middle of 100-plus tackles, really like what they bring to the table. It's going to be, full hands-on for Baylor because they're not really losing much at all. Jones does lead the way at 9.5 TFL. Steve Linton should be back for this contest off the edge. He has 7 tackles for loss. Garmin Randolph as well. 2 veteran edges on the outside linebacking spots, trying to feast on younger tackles. It's going to be the idea for Baylor. This is a team that's been, all right against the pass, but it's probably going to be their weak part. Allowed 19 touchdowns, 227 yards per game. They have snagged 17 interceptions. Only player they're going to be missing here, Corey Gordon at safety. He leads the team in interceptions. He wasn't a full-time starter, but he's a very respectable number 2. Devon Bobby, Caden Jenkins. Those are going to be your top corners, top defensive backs, that is. Devin Lemire as well. He'll be playing some extra reps in this one, it appears. Carl Williams, I don't know if he'll be back and healthy, and he's an important piece whenever he's on the field. I know it's been a while since he played, so hopefully a couple more weeks, a month off to get ready should help them. I think this is going to be a team that's going to be playing with a little bit more juice on this side of the ball because they have more guys available, more guys playing in this one compared to LSU, who's down their best players top to bottom, and then this quarterback's going to try and will them the victory. And I think he certainly can. Nussmeier, I think he's great. I think the opportunity will be there for this pass rush to kind of tee off, though. It's not a great one, only 23 sacks this year, but against, again, a new offensive line and a quarterback who's a bit turnover prone at times. I think Baylor is certainly going to have the upper hand in this matchup top to bottom. Leads us to the final prediction for the Texas Bowl. I think this is a great opportunity for Baylor to come out here and get a big win. LSU never just seems to have a full roster available when they play in bowl games. Because I think they played in this game a couple years ago and they had nobody. If it wasn't this one, it was another one. But nonetheless, LSU, I don't think they're going to be able to really keep up in this game due to the lack of weapons. I think Nussmeier is going to give them a fighting chance. We'll just be in 2 and 3rd and longs, and Baylor will be able to create just some better opportunities to force punch in their offense. Should feast in this one. A balanced approach from Robertson and Washington and some nice playmaking wide receivers. I'm going to take them 42-28. Pretty bit of a lofty score. I just don't really trust this defense against this type of offense. And again, the offense will have to be playing catch up. And, I think next year they're going to be great. They're going to be competing for a national title. And the bowl result's not going to be fully vindictive of what their future outlook will be. So I wouldn't read too much into it if you're a Tiger fan. If you're just a college football fan, LSU will be just fine. But for this matchup, Baylor certainly has the upper hand. That's me for today's episode. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.